Hello there, I'm Bonabert, and welcome back to another one of my videos. You read the title. Today I'm going to be ranking all the Dreamworks movies in a tier list. Now, Dreamworks has this reputation of making some really good movies and also making some really bad movies. They made some of the best animated movies, and also some of the worst. So today, I'm going to rank them. Before we get into it, I don't want to hear you guys saying, "Oh, Bonabert, you forgot this movie, or this movie." Yes, I know, there won't be some movies in this list. And that's because I haven't either watched them, or I don't remember them that well. If you want to see me do a full Dreamworks tier list, then leave that in the comments. But with the introduction stuff out of the way, let's just get right into it. With the bottom tier. D tier is for the worst movies. Movies that I never really want to watch again. I won't be going in depth at all. I don't want to waste too much time. But I'll go over each movie and tell you what I think. And the worst Dreamworks movie goes to Shark Tale, as you can see. Shape Realist Productions has a really good video about how this movie is a cinematic disaster. If you want to hear an in-depth explanation of why this movie is bad, go watch that video. But yeah, Shark Tale isn't funny. The animation's terrible. The main character sucks. It's just really not a good movie. The only reason why I hear people liking this movie is because nostalgia, which I don't have for this movie, so I obviously don't like it. Next up is Shrek the Third. I've talked about this movie multiple times on this channel, and if you've been subscribed for a while now, you know I hate this movie. It's a complete disgrace to the Shrek franchise. It's stupid, not funny. It just feels like a dumb kids movie when that's not what Shrek is. And I think this is the movie that caused everyone to hate Shrek 4. And you'll see where Shrek 4 ranks later. Next up is Boss Baby. This is a movie for literal babies. I mean, obviously, because it's Boss Baby. Most of the movies are down here because they're just stupid and unfunny. And that's exactly what Boss Baby is. Just a dumb baby movie. They attempt to have emotional moments, but they end up just being hilarious. There's a lot of cliche stuff in there. It just isn't a good movie at all. And lastly, we have Turbo. The twist villain sucks. It's just a really forgettable movie that I forget exists all the time. And the stupid song they play that goes like, "The snail is fast," is so bad. So, that's the worst Dreamworks movies. That I've seen, at least. The next movies are just a little better. Now we have C tier. This tier is genuinely seen as not absolute worst, but could be a lot better. Now, I've talked about Puss in Boots before on this channel, and I think it's very forgettable. It's not a terrible movie. It's just okay. I don't hate it, don't love it. It's just eh. But Puss in Boots 2 is a lot better, and I don't actually think they had it on this tier list. But that would go in S tier right away. Monsters vs. Aliens is a very forgettable movie. I think I just blocked this movie out of my memory because I didn't like it that much as a kid. I don't think the Seth Rogen blob is that funny. It's just another one of DreamWorks' more forgettable movies. The next movie is Trolls. It's a really colorful movie. It's just really annoying how they play pop songs all the time. I do like the art style, though. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of cliches in there, which I don't like cliches at all. Who does? I just don't really like Trolls that much. And lastly, we have Home. Again, another forgettable movie. The ending is a little weird, but basically the whole movie is stop this invitation from getting to this one alien guy. Like I said, it's another forgettable movie. I don't love it that much. And that's what most of C tier was. I know it probably seems like I'm going pretty fast, but I just want to get this stuff out of the way. Next up is B tier. These movies are seen as good, not great, but still enjoyable. First up, we got Over the Hedge, and I might get some hate for this, but I don't remember it too well. I remember it being very funny, and I really liked the squirrel and the villains. It's one of DreamWorks' more enjoyable comedies. Speaking of DreamWorks comedies, we have Madagascar. This movie is pretty funny. I remember watching it all the time as a kid. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I like Madagascar. Looking back at it now, is it amazing? Absolutely not. Is it good? Sure. Now, How to Train Your Dragon 2 is probably the weakest in the franchise. Still good, but I remember it the least out of the three movies. But it does have some good emotional moments. Next up is The Croods. A lot of people hate this movie, but I don't. It obviously gave us the legendary Grug, voiced by Nicolas Cage. And I just think it's a pretty interesting world that this movie is set in. It has a lot of funny moments, and I think it gets too much hate for what it is. Next up is Madagascar 3. Just like the first one, it's a funny movie. I really like the chase scene with the cop and the penguins and all the characters in the car. I always really like that scene. It's just an alright movie. Would I watch it again? Probably not, because I like the other two just a little bit more. It's only above the first one because it has that fun chase scene. And wrapping up the B tier, we have the B movie. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, I know that wasn't funny at all. But yeah, the B movie is funny. The movie does lose me just a little bit when they try to make the plot more serious. But it does have a good message on why bees are pretty important. But yeah, this movie is freaking hilarious. Is the concept dumb? Absolutely. But I laugh every time I watch this movie. And that's it for the B tier. That's it for the B puns. I'm sorry I made you sit through that. Next up is A tier. Now, I genuinely see this tier as great or good. Not absolutely at the top, but pretty close. And this is the longest tier, so I'm going to try to get it out of the way. I don't want this video to be too long. The OG Shrek is awesome. It's a classic. And what can I say that hasn't already been said? It's Shrek. It's funny, has a great soundtrack, and it makes fun of fairy tales, which is pretty cool. Just a big middle finger to Disney. Next up is How to Train Your Dragon. It's a pretty good start to the trilogy. It introduces us to this world, and that's all I really have to say. It's just a good movie that I would definitely watch again. I mean, I did watch it a lot when I was younger. I think the tier list maker I used didn't have How to Train Your Dragon 3 for some reason. I could be wrong, but if it was, it would be here. I really like How to Train Your Dragon 3. I don't think it's quite in S tier, but it's still good. Next up is Penguins of Madagascar. I love this movie so much. The action's great. I love these characters. It's just a really fun time. The villain's really cool, and Dreamworks does really nail the villains. But yeah, this is a good movie. And yeah, next up is Kung Fu Panda 3. Like I said, Dreamworks nails the villains, and I really like Kai. He's voiced by J.K. Simmons, which is epic. The action's great, but I do think it's the weakest of all three Kung Fu Panda movies. I do like the introduction of the Panda Village, but overall, this is definitely the weakest of all three Kung Fu Panda movies. Although Po is pretty freaking epic when he's in the spirit world and all that. That was a really cool animated sequence. That's like one of my favorite moments in any movie ever. Next up is Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Some of you might not expect this movie to be this high, but it's really good. If you haven't watched it in a while, give it a rewatch. I love this movie. It's a really fun history lesson. The characters are fun and it has a lot of funny moments. Probably one of the funnier Dreamworks movies in my opinion. I probably will dedicate a video to Mr. Peabody and Sherman someday, because it doesn't get enough recognition for how good it is. This has a lot of good, heartwarming moments, and I love this movie so much. Again, go check it out if you haven't seen it in a while or haven't seen it at all. You won't regret it. And Madagascar 2 is the best Madagascar movie. It's funnier than the other two in my opinion. The villains are right. Moto Moto is amazing. And I like how this movie actually tries to give the characters something to do besides being these comedic, characters. Like, they actually have emotional moments in this movie, unlike the other two. And this movie actually has a pretty decent plot, I would say. Is it as good as some other movies? No. But it's a lot better than the other first two. And capping off A tier, we have Shrek 4. This movie is underappreciated. Again, this is the second time I'm mentioning Schaefer Willis Productions in this video. But he made a 42-minute long on how underrated this movie is and how good it is. So, if you want another in-depth analysis on a movie, go check that out. He makes a lot of good in-depth analyses and actually knows stuff about movies. Unlike me. I'm just a kid. But yeah, Shrek 4 has some great emotional moments. Not the funniest Shrek movie, doesn't have the best soundtrack, but it's really good. It has a really good story and plot, too. I just want to punch Rumpelstiltskin so hard in the face. He's such a good villain. But he deserves the win he got, because he's smart and just a really good villain. But yeah, Shrek 4 is just a really underrated movie, and I would even consider it a masterpiece. But I'm saving that stuff for S tier. And last, but certainly not least, we have S tier. These are the best movies. Movies I rewatch all the time. Like I said earlier, I don't think the tier list maker I used had Puss in Boots 2, but it would definitely go right here. It's actually a masterpiece. The animation, the characters, the villain, it's awesome. Go see it if you haven't yet. It's streaming on Peacock, I think. Go watch it. Shrek 2 is one of the best Dreamworks movies and best sequels of all time. It's funny, the soundtrack's great, the animation is good for its time, the character moments are great, Shrek gets so much development. Finale is awesome, one of the best movie finales ever in my opinion. I might even say it's on Avengers Endgame levels, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves. I mean, Shrek 2 is just awesome. Next up is Kung Fu Panda 2, yet another amazing movie. This movie delves into Poe's past, and it's really interesting. The villain's awesome. The setting's cool. The action's great, as always, in Kung Fu Panda. And Kung Fu Panda 2 is just awesome. It just has a darker tone than the other two. It's just one of my favorite animated movies of all time. But above Kung Fu Panda 2 is Kung Fu Panda. Yeah, this is my favorite Kung Fu Panda movie. The action is awesome. Tai Lung's an awesome villain. Poe's an interesting main character. Master Oogway's great. This is just an awesome movie. I've always loved the first Kung Fu Panda. And finally, we've reached Megamind. This movie makes fun of superheroes, and it's hilarious. The animation and action are great. The characters are awesome, especially Megamind. It's a really good comedy, but also has a lot of serious moments in there. Titan's a crazy villain. I love Metro Man, who doesn't. I just can't find a single bad thing about this movie. I love it so much. And yeah, I know I went through S tier pretty quickly. I don't want this movie to be 20 minutes long, especially because I just made an hour-long video. So that's all. I know this was a bit of a fast-paced video, but I just wanted to get it over with because it's been in my mind for so long. I've been wanting to make this video for a while. Let me know if you want to see any other tier list, or, again, if you want to see a tier list with every Dreamworks movie in it. But that was the tier list of all the Dreamworks movies I've seen. Let me know your thoughts. And, hey, if you stuck around this far, don't forget to subscribe. I'm on the road to 1,000, and I'd love to reach it by the end of the year. Let me know any other video ideas that aren't tier list if you have any. And that's a cut.